We are about 2 weeks away from the release of Starfield, and it seems like every day now new details and news from the game are breaking online. In this video, I'm going to go over all the biggest news we've gotten from Starfield in the last week, including the game's preload dates, file size, when reviews will go live, a ton of new details from a developer Q&A, and much more. All the topics I'm going to cover in this video will be listed in the timestamps down in the description, so feel free to use those for your convenience and get to the parts of the video that you're really interested in. Before we get into it, if you enjoyed the video, be sure to leave a like and subscribe to the channel for more gaming news. On Twitter, Bethesda announced that Starfield has gone gold, so the launch version of the game is finally finished and ready for us to all play on day one. In the same announcement, they also gave us the dates that we can start preloading the game. You might want to get on that very soon because this game is massive. The preload dates for Xbox Series X and S and Windows PC players was August 17th, so you can go ahead and start your preload now if you have pre-ordered the game on either of those platforms. Unfortunately, if you've pre-ordered the game on Steam, you won't be able to preload your copy of Starfield until August 30th, but that's still 2 days before the early access date on September 1st, so you'll still have some time. If you have pre-ordered a copy of Starfield, you might want to get on and start your preload as soon as possible, because the file sizes for this game are coming in on the larger end. As people have started to preload the game, we have seen the file sizes, and the PC version of the game is coming in at 139.84 gigabytes, and the Xbox Series X and S versions of the game is 126.1 gigabytes. The Steam page says that players will have to have 125 gigabytes of free space to play the game, but since you can't preload the game until August 20th on Steam, we don't know the exact file size just yet. We also have some news on when reviews are planned to be released for Starfield. I know many of you are waiting for reviews to come out before buying the game, and that's probably the smartest thing to do for any game nowadays. I have seen many reviewers on Twitter say that they have gotten their review copies of the game this week and are starting their reviews as we speak. The embargo on reviews and content for Starfield lifts on August 31st at 9 AM Pacific time, so you can expect many of the reviews to be released on that date. The game is set to launch in early access for Premium Edition pre-orders on September 1st, and the full launch of the game is planned for September 6th. The scope of this game is massive, and I'm sure reviewers will have their hands full over the next couple weeks trying to get their reviews done for the game. The achievement list for Starfield has also been shared online, and it's a big one. If you're an achievement hunter in games, then Starfield might take you a bit to fully complete. There are 50 achievements for Starfield that you will have to complete if you plan on getting the 1000 gamer score that comes with 100%ing the game's achievements. The list is long and has several spoilers, so I'm not going to list them all here, but it looks like most of them are linked to quest completion and many of them should be complete by finishing the main story. I know in the past Bethesda have been known to have very buggy releases with their games, but I saw this tweet that might be some good news for Starfield. An account by the name of Starfield Beyond on Twitter said that several builds of the game have been pushed to make sure the game is polished ahead of its launch. Starfield will launch as version 1.6.35, and Fallout 4 was released on version 1.1, and Bethesda is aiming for Starfield to be their most polished launch title yet. It looks like they've put a lot of work into polishing Starfield, and this is probably the reason the game's been delayed for so long. They probably finished the game over a year ago and have just been polishing the game in the meantime. I'd say that this is very promising to hear from Bethesda. One feature that we've heard that Starfield won't have might make some players upset. In the developer Q&A, they were asked if a pacifist playstyle of Starfield is possible, and the developers said that a full pacifist playstyle in Starfield is not possible. I know many people might take this as a challenge, but if the developers are saying that this playstyle is not possible, then I'm sure there's something baked into the story somewhere that would not allow you to complete it in that way. However, they did say that some systems in the game can help you have a playthrough that avoids some physical altercations. One of these systems is the speech system. Now let's move on to the rest of the developer Q&A. During the event, the Starfield devs were asked 16 different questions about the game and its features. During the event, they said that there is player housing in the game. Some of the houses available are rewards for different quests, and others must be purchased. Each major city in the game will have at least one housing option. The kid stuff trait will make it so that your parents in the game will look like the character you design. They also said that actors playing your parents got really into it, and they also have some cool stuff that they can give you. If none of the traits or player background stories interest you, then you can start the game with an anonymous background and no traits if that's the way you want to go. Certain items in the game are considered contraband, and you will have to equip special modules to your ship so you can smuggle these items past security in each settlement. The game does have a jail system if you get into any trouble. You will have the option to go to jail, pay a fine, or try to escape the authorities when you commit a crime. When talking about the jail system in Starfield, the developers also said that they took more inspiration from Skyrim and not Fallout when designing this system. I'm not sure of the exact scope of this one, but they did say that there are times in the game where the themes of crime and punishment are explored. There is a quest in the game that gives you the opportunity to infiltrate the Crimson Fleet. I'm not sure if it's a main or side quest, but it definitely sounds interesting. Existing real-life religions will be in the Starfield universe, but the focus is mostly on the 3 new groups that will be present in the game. The Sanctum Universum believe that God physically exists within the universe, and grab jumping and the ability to travel the stars is God's way of saying, "Come find me." A group called the Enlightened are organized atheists that obviously don't believe in any higher power. They believe that humans must take care of themselves. The House Faroon believes that the Great Serpent will encircle the universe and devour every non-believer. Now that honestly sounds like a cult to me, and I'm sure many of you will explore that option. There are over 20 named characters in the game who can be your companion and join your crew. 4 of them are from Constellation, and they will be the main focus. No names were given for the companions, but they did say that during the development they made sure to make the companions in-game very useful and effective. When you assign a crew member to an outpost, there is a one-time payment you'll have to make, but you won't have to pay any ongoing fees if you keep them stationed there. The mechs we saw in the animated shorts are left over from the Colony War. Both sides had them, but the Freestar Collective mastered them, with the UC being more reliant on controlled alien beasts they kept. They also said that in the game there's an old mech battlefield that you can visit, but the mechs there are not usable. They also said that there are several quests in the game that take inspiration from sci-fi media like Battlestar Galactica, Interstellar, and 2001: A Space Odyssey. Starfield will also have a lot of environmental storytelling, and it'll play a big role in immersion. From books lying around to notes on bulletin boards, several different aspects of the game offer more immersion into the game's universe. I'm not sure really what to make of this, but they also said there are a lot of buttons in Starfield, so if you see a big red button that says "Do not press," you should probably press it. Bethesda also released a full timeline for the Starfield universe leading up to the events at the start of the game, and it gives us a ton of lore for the game. I'm going to go through the timeline that they laid out for us, and this part of the video might be annoying and boring for some, but I find this kind of stuff in video games fascinating, so if you don't want to listen to this part, I completely understand. The timeline starts with the humans first arriving on Mars in 2050, and by the year 2100, humans are living in space. I wonder how far off that will be from real life. In 2156, humans first arrive in Alpha Centauri, which is 4.37 light years away from Earth, and I also believe this is the closest galaxy to our galaxy, the Milky Way. In the year 2159, the United Colonies is established, and a year later in 2160, New Atlantis is founded and becomes the official capital city of the United Colonies in 2161. In 2167, Cheyenne was settled by Solomon Coe, who founds its first settlement, Aquila City. In 2188, Coe invites Vali to join Cheyenne in a new alliance called the Freestar Collective, which is officially formed in 2189. In 2194, the United Colonies position the star station called the Clinic in orbit around Apollo in the Nerion system. The unaffiliated peoples of the Nerion system see this as a UC attempt to expand their borders and demand the UC remove the Clinic. When the UC refuses, the people of Nerion vote to join the Freestar Collective, who mobilize to protect the system in 2195. In 2196, in response to Freestar mobilization, the UC moves a fleet into the Nerion system, and Freestar responds in kind. The Nerion War begins. In 2216, the Nerion War drags on as public sentiment sours. Finally, the Treaty of Nerion is signed by the UC and Freestar Collective in 2116, ending the conflict. The term settled system is formalized in the treaty. In 2221, the Freestar Rangers are founded as an elite protective and investigation force dedicated to serving all citizens of the Freestar Collective. In 2175, Constellation is formed by Sebastian Banks. The Lodge is also built in New Atlantis to serve the needs and people of Constellation for generations to come. Also in 2275, Barrett joins Constellation. In 2307, the Freestar Collective begins farming on the planet of Vesta in the lunar system. By 2308, the United Colonies claims that by establishing a colony in a fourth star system, the Freestar Collective has violated the Treaty of Nerion. Diplomatic talks break down and the UC lays siege to Vesta, killing anyone who stayed behind or was brought in to defend it. The colony war officially begins. In 2310, Constellation comes into possession of the first artifact and tucks it away in the Constellation archives. In 2111, after several years of conflict, the colony war effectively comes to an end with the Battle of Cheyenne as a flotilla of civilian and military Freestar Collective ships take down the major ships of the UC Navy using a hit-and-run tactic. In 2315, the UC Vanguard is founded as a part of a UC response to the Freestar Collective's use of civilian ships during the Colony War. The Vanguard is the UC's own civilian navy, relying on civilians using their own ships. In 2319, Sarah Morgan becomes the youngest head of the UC Navigator Corps, though it's a short-lived position as the division is shut down in 2320. Cast adrift but still eager to put her training to good use, Morgan joins Constellation. In 2321, Walter Stroud, co-owner of one of the Settled Systems' premier starship manufacturers, joins Constellation and becomes its primary financial backer. In 2322, former Crimson Fleet pirate Vladimir Saul joins Constellation. In 2325, Sarah Morgan becomes acting chair of Constellation. In 2325, theologian Matteo Katari joins Constellation. In 2326, Barrett finds the original artifact in the Constellation archives and knows it must be special. In 2327, Freestar Ranger Sam Coe and his daughter Cora join Constellation. In 2328, Andreja joins Constellation, and Barrett convinces Constellation to purchase Star Station L-868 and modify it to become a deep space scanner nicknamed the Eye. And finally, in 2330, the story of Starfield begins. That brings you up to date with the Starfield universe thus far, and by the looks of it, the lore for this universe is gonna be very deep. The launch of Starfield is quickly approaching, and I cannot wait to get my hands on this game. I'm gonna try and get more videos out on Starfield after the launch, but I know that this game will completely consume my life. If you enjoyed the video, be sure to leave a like and subscribe to the channel to stay up to date with all the latest gaming news.